Who blew up the Nordstream pipeline? Now, a few months ago, Russia was accused of shelling a massive nuclear power station in the Ukraine. Strange thing about the story was the Russian military were occupying the massive nuclear power station. I think it might have been the Zaporozhye nuclear power station. As ever, I get everything wrong in my videos, so don't quote me on that. And because of YouTube and censorship and algorithms, I cannot point a finger at anybody and say these people did it or that those people did it. So the Russians took over a nuclear power station in the Ukraine, then shelled their own guys. Is that a believable story? The Russians who could turn the gas taps off on Nord Stream pipeline decided to blow the pipeline up. Now, it cost billions to build it. There was hundreds of millions of dollars worth of gas in the pipeline. So again, that doesn't sound like a very believable story to me. So here's the orange Cheeto, the Oompa Loompa from 2018. There's stuff from Joe Biden saying he wanted the Nord Stream pipeline to stop. There's stuff from Condoleezza Rice saying that she wanted the pipeline to stop. So there's a bit of a smoking gun here. If this government were responsible for closing down the pipeline, they've basically whacked Germany's economy. If you were wearing a tinfoil hat, you would think to yourself, who benefits from it? Since this government here started fracking, they've produced piles of liquefied natural gas, and they didn't really have a market for it. By December of last year, Europe was looking at a really bright, a really golden future. We were becoming part of the Belt and Road Initiative, where railway lines were being built through China into the Middle East, into Africa, into Europe. Admittedly, that was for the benefit of China. They'd been able to sell the products very, very quickly to us and not use container ships. But I also think it would have benefited Europe because European goods could have went in another direction. So anyway, let's listen to the Cheeto. Oh, come on. My videos are worth their weight in gold, aren't they?
I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries, and then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia, and I think that's very inappropriate. And the former chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas. Ultimately, Germany will have almost 70% of their country controlled by Russia with natural gas. So you tell me, is that appropriate? I mean, I've been complaining about this from the time I got in. It should have never been allowed to have happened. But Germany is totally controlled by Russia because they were getting from 60 to 70% of their energy from Russia and a new pipeline. And you tell me if that's appropriate, because I think it's not. And I think it's a very bad thing for NATO, and I don't think it should have happened. And I think we have to talk to Germany about it. On top of that, Germany is just paying a little bit over 1%, whereas the United States, in actual numbers, is paying 4.2% of a much larger GDP. So I think that's inappropriate also. You know, we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting everybody, and yet we're paying a lot of money to protect. Now, this has been going on for decades. This has been brought up by other presidents, but other presidents never did anything about it because I don't think they understood it or they just didn't want to get involved. But I have to bring it up because I think it's very unfair to our country. It's very unfair to our taxpayer. And I think that these countries have to step it up, not over a 10-year period. They have to step it up immediately. Germany is a rich country. They talk about they're going to increase it a tiny bit by 2030. Well, they could increase it immediately tomorrow and have no problem. I don't think it's fair to the United States. So we're going to have to do something because we're not going to put up with it. We can't put up with it. And
okay, so let's have a think about that. Germany cannot make decisions to benefit Germany. They were not paying enough money into NATO, and the Cheeto, the Oompa Loompa guy, wasn't very happy with that. What's it got to do with him or that government, who anybody gets their energy from? If you were being cynical, you could look at the current war in the Ukraine and say this is another war like the Iraq war. And if you scratch the surface in World War II as well, World War II was fought over oil. Hitler's first port of call when he travelled into Russia was to go to the Caucasus Mountains to try to secure the oil fields in the Caucasus. He booted the British out of Europe, humiliated us. The next time we seen the German military was in Libya in the Middle East. The Germans weren't down there looking for sand. So World War II was about energy. The Iraq War was obviously about energy. Does anybody really think the war in the Ukraine is about anything other than NATO expansion? And this government's nose been put out of joint about the fact Europe was buying cheap, reliable, clean energy off the best people we could buy this off. The liquefied natural gas Americans have got, I think during the liquefaction process they have to use nitrogen to turn it into a liquid. Then when you get it to the terminals at the other side, there's another process you have to go through to turn it back into gas. And we're now sending it across the Atlantic from America. The Russians thought you can't beat a gas pipeline when it comes to cheap delivery of gas. So in December of last year, Europe was looking at having long-term, cheap, reliable energy from Russia. I think the Russians were wanting between $200 and $250 per 1,000 cubic meters of natural gas. The price of the natural gas today is about $3,200 per 1,000 cubic meters. Somebody somewhere is making an absolute fortune at this moment in time. The pound's tanking, the European economy's going down the tubes, with Nordstream 2 just being blown up. Do you know what this is like? Imagine there was a representative at this table, and this guy or one of his associates walked in, took a pistol out and blew the German government minister's brains out in front of everybody else at the table. Mafia tactics. He then turned round to everybody else at the table and says, do you see what we've just done? Do you see what we've just done? So, who blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline? I can't say. This is my angle on it. Nobody else's angle. We've all got our own ideas, but again, the idea that Russia would shell the Zaporozhye nuclear power facility, which was the biggest nuclear power station in Europe, when their own guys were in the power station, that doesn't make sense to me. Maybe Putin is just this crazy maniac that wants to do all this mad stuff. And think about the Chernobyl accident. Chernobyl's in the Ukraine as well. It's another massive power station. It wasn't as big as Zaporozhye, I don't think. So crazy Putin decides to overtake a nuclear power station, then shell it, just to show everybody how crazy he is. The gas wasn't flowing through Nord Stream pipeline 1 or 2. The Russians were using that as leverage over the European economies. There's no two ways about that. Then crazy Putin decides to blow up a pipeline that he can turn the gas tap off on. If that makes sense to you, contact me in the comment section. I'm selling London Bridge for one of my friends. So, everything's wacko, isn't it? Politics isn't what my channel's about, but we've got to discuss this type of stuff. Tomorrow is the 5th of October. The Donbass, Lugansk, Zaporozhye and Kherson regions of the Ukraine become Russian territory tomorrow. Now, I don't think anybody agrees with that. They had the referendum, which is more than the English government are allowing Scotland to have on their own future, right? So regardless of what you think about the Russian annexation of these 4 territories, as of tomorrow, that part of the Ukraine is Mother Russia. The Russians have been moving an incredible amount of military equipment into that area. If the Ukrainians shell in these parts of what is their country, or what was their country, it's technically an attack on Russia. Russia had been calling it a special military operation up until this point. It was a war, however, under international and Russian law. That means a different thing from somebody attacking Russia. So is all hell going to break loose tomorrow? Are the Russians going to just continue going about the Ukraine like a Pac-Man on Valium, swallowing stuff up? I don't know. I don't have access to the Russian Defence Ministry. Sergei Shoigu certainly does not follow me. Phone me up and tell me what his plans are. However, I think the story about Russia blowing up Nordstream isn't believable. I think the story about the Russian military blowing up a shelling a nuclear power plant is insanity. I mean, who would believe that? Cheery Times and Old Dog Television. Sorry for dropping down the rabbit hole, but as I said, I think this year has been one of the craziest years in my entire life, politics-wise. European politics, global politics are on a knife edge just now, you know. Let's hope that things can get resolved quickly. My usual take on it: stop sending weapons into the Ukraine, stop giving the Ukraine, stop sanctioning Russia, send in diplomats and let's get this sorted. It's the 5th of October tomorrow. By the end of this month, there's going to be an awful lot of people in Europe really struggling. Alrighty, nice cheery upload from the Old Dog Television. Thank you all for watching. Bye.